You know, a celebrity story has gone completely crazy when we're no longer asking where Ellen DeGeneres went. We're asking if the next Ellen we see will even be the real Ellen. Jim Caviezel's warnings about Hollywood were already disturbing, but now Ellen's name has somehow entered cloning theories. Yes, Ellen DeGeneres cloned, because apparently one Ellen wasn't enough. Meanwhile, Ellen moved to England. Jim kept talking about what Hollywood might do behind closed doors, and the internet put on its detective hat. So, what happened here? And how did we go from be kind to check her DNA?
But people, the power of the devil deceives to say, no, you're going to be around for a long, long time. And they never wake up. And eventually there is a judgment, and then you have to decide, or God decides, not how you want to see yourself anymore, but how God sees you. And how God sees you is who you really are. And so that's how I chose to go at this particular case. I had no choice but to go in, and I hear the screams in my heart.
But before getting to Ellen, I wanted to find out where all this celebrity cloning talk even started. I expected something ridiculous, but I didn't expect it to go back to 2002. That year, a biotechnology company called Clonaid held a press conference and claimed it had created the world's first human clone. They called the baby girl Eve. This wasn't just an anonymous internet post. It involved a real company, a real press conference, international headlines, and scientists calling for DNA tests.
I'm very, very pleased to announce that the first baby clone is born. She was born yesterday at 11:55 a.m. in the country where she was born. So this will not give you more details about the location. She's fine. We call her Eve between us. You knew that, of course. Some suggested it, and I thought it was a good idea, actually. You won't have the right name. And, for a long time, I thought that this press conference will be with the baby, the parents, the scientists, everybody surrounding me, and having pleasure announcing it. I'm alone. And there is a reason to that, is that it hasn't been easy to face the world with this announcement. And we have been discussing with the parents the last 3 months how we would handle today. And they decided not to show up yet. They will. I hope they will. And I wish them well. We started really to work with human eggs in January of this year. So it took us 3 months to finalize, and this is very short, and that's why I said, is it luck or is it hard work? I do believe it's hard work. But we had really good success very quickly and refined the technique for human eggs until spring, where we started to have implantation. We had 10 implantations, and 5 of them during the first 3 weeks were terminated spontaneously. 5 others were successful and are still successful. The first one was born yesterday. The next one is due in Europe.
Now remember, this was in 2002, 24 years ago. Think about how much technology has changed. AI only became widely available to regular people a few years ago, and look at how much it has improved since those strange 7-finger AI images. Even before that, scientists had already successfully cloned Dolly the sheep in 1996. Dolly was real, not some rumor or story from someone's cousin who worked for the CIA. Since then, scientists have cloned other mammals too. So, cloning itself isn't science fiction anymore. That door was opened about 30 years ago.
In 1996, a Scottish research team cloned Dolly the sheep from a single adult cell. The creation of Jean, the cloned cow, followed in the United States a year later. And the following year, scientists were able to monitor the progress of Dolly's healthy lamb, Bonnie, conceived by natural insemination with Welsh ram David. The fertile Dolly has since developed premature arthritis. But the anthropomorphic naming of cuddly clones only helps to obscure what's really happening. Scientists around the world are making significant progress in the attempt to create human life in the lab. There's hope that genetically modified pigs will provide organ banks for transplants. Dr. Brigitte Boisselier is cloning humans.
We are dealing with human reproduction, and we are preparing embryos in a laboratory that is included in the clinic, and this is located in a place where it's perfectly legal to do it. So that's the background. We do have 6 scientists working full-time, and we have experts who are associated to us but are not linked to us by any financial thing. They are just experts who are looking at what we're doing in the sense that they will be our witnesses when we just publish and when we open that to the public. So we have very healthy blastocysts, and we hope to present the baby to the press and to the world, a very healthy one soon.
I mean, I would have called all of this conspiracy nonsense too. But then George W. Bush entered the conversation. In 2002, the president publicly urged Congress to ban human cloning, saying it had moved from science fiction into real science. Now, think about that for a second. When did the White House start giving major speeches about random tabloid rumors? Bush was responding to real scientific developments and an active debate over human cloning, not simply an internet rumor. Still, it's hard not to notice how much government attention the subject was getting for something that had once seemed purely fictional.
Hopeful society has institutions of science and medicine that do not cut ethical corners and that recognize the matchless value of every life. Tonight, I ask you to pass legislation to prohibit the most egregious abuses of medical research, human cloning in all its forms, creating or implanting embryos for experiments, creating human-animal hybrids, and buying, selling, or patenting human embryos. Human life is a gift from our Creator, and that gift should never be discarded, devalued, or put up for sale.
I know you love variety and reassurance. So here's another example. Bill Clinton publicly called for a ban on human cloning back in 1997. His administration also moved to stop federal funding for human cloning and proposed legislation to prohibit creating humans through cloning technology. So, that means 2 U.S. presidents openly addressed human cloning as a serious scientific and ethical issue. But sure, just call it a silly little conspiracy.
Legal and ethical issues that have been raised by the sudden potential to clone human beings by a new technology with rather remarkable characteristics. As you can understand, this has been an unusually challenging assignment, in part because of the complexity and difficulty of the issues, in part because conflicting values are at stake, in part because Americans disagree on the implications of this new technology for the social and cultural values they hold dearest, in part because it's difficult to decide if and when our liberties should be restricted, and in part because of the ambitious timetable. In preparing our report, we made every effort to consult widely with ethicists, theologians, scientists, physicians, and as many citizens as possible with interests and concerns in this area. It is clear that the potential ability to clone human beings through the technique known as somatic cell nuclear transfer raises many important scientific, legal, and moral issues that require further review and consideration.
Dr. Harold Shapiro, then president of Princeton, wasn't enough to calm everyone down, so they brought in Bill Clinton himself to address the issue. Because apparently, this wasn't just some random conspiracy. It was serious enough for the president to make an official statement about human cloning.
Our administration believes that there are loopholes that could allow the cloning of human beings if the technology were developed. Therefore, today I am issuing a directive that bans the use of any federal funds for any cloning of human beings. Effective immediately, no federal agency may support, fund, or undertake such activity. Of course, a great deal of research and activity in this area is supported by private funds. That is why I am urging the entire scientific and medical community, every foundation, every university, every industry that supports work in this area, to heed the federal government's example I'm asking for a voluntary moratorium on the cloning of human beings until our Bioethics Advisory Commission and our entire nation have had a real chance to understand and debate the profound ethical implications of the latest advances. As we gain a fuller understanding of this technology, we must proceed not just with caution, but also with a conscience, by insisting that not a single taxpayer dollar supports human cloning, and by urging a moratorium on all private research in this area. We can ensure that as we move forward on this issue, we weigh the concerns of faith and family and philosophy and values, not merely of science alone.
Nothing says just a silly conspiracy like bringing in the president, right? A few years later, the cloning story somehow reached DJ Vlad's couch. In 2018, rapper Kid Buu claimed he was a second-generation clone created by Clonaid in Canada. He even gave Vlad a supposed model number and claimed some of his memories had been erased. Do I believe Kid Buu came straight out of a human Xerox machine? Please. But after Clonaid, Dolly, Clinton, and Bush, this conspiracy story was getting pretty crowded and messy.
Where I'm from, it is.
Yeah, but in the grand scheme of things, in the grand scheme of life, it's not the norm. You know, you're supposed to live until you get to an old age and then pass away, like, you know, Aretha Franklin, rest in peace. Like that is what's considered the norm, you know.
I believe in a new norm now. I believe in a new norm of like through the creation of synthesis and DNA that we can live like immortal through clones and transfer our consciousness. I'm in living proof now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually looking.
Shout out Clonaid.
What's that?
Shout out Clonaid.
Yeah. Well, you know, you could actually, as soon as you die, they could actually freeze your body.
Well, what happened with my first gen is they took the skull because he initially had written in a will to the Raelian movement that if something were to happen to him, they can ship the skull over immediately to Clonaid. So they can remove a fragment of bone that's located here. And in this fragment of bone, it stores all of your memories and consciousness. And with that, they can make a sufficient replica of yourself, a reproductive version of you, including your memories. And you can be selective as to which ones you keep or don't keep. This process has been around for quite some time. Like Dolly the sheep was cloned back in, I think, the late 70s, early 80s, if I'm not mistaken.
Dolly the sheep, yeah, I remember that. And they've cloned a lot of animals over the years. Yeah,
Clonaid, I don't want to say too much information. This is going to be broadcast on the internet.
But I don't think they could transfer the actual memories, though.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You're living proof of this?
Yeah, I'm living proof. Except all the memories. A lot of them I don't have because of drugs and alcohol I abused as a teenager. So it's kind of like burning an MP3 CD, right? So let's say, we don't do this, people don't do this anymore, but back in the day, you would bootleg a CD, you would need the original copy. Mm-hmm. You put it in, it reads the disc, transfers all the files. You have the same exact CD, it's the same thing. All the tracks, everything, every bar, every hit from every note, everything's gonna be on there. Now, if I scratch that CD, I may not be able to read all the files on the disc, making it impossible to transfer and make a new one, new copy. I think it's amazing that they even were able to make Gucci Mane.
Right, because they cloned him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Clonaid did. I'm pretty sure like that was done from a separate company, but yeah, clearly.
Right. Everyone was saying he was cloned as soon as he got out of jail. He looked different. He talked different.
Yeah, even his teeth and his smile.
Right, he was smiling a lot more.
Yeah, he did, definitely. I like Gucci. I like new Gucci. I like second gen Gucci.
Second gen Gucci. Okay, so Gucci was the first hip hop clone, but you're the second.
Maybe if there's others, I don't know.
And then Joe Rogan and Cat Williams joined the cloning conversation. During Cat's 2024 appearance on Rogan's show, they discussed cloning and how far the technology might have gone behind closed doors. Kid Buu claiming he escaped a cloning facility is easy to dismiss, but hearing Cat Williams and Joe Rogan talk about the same subject makes me pause. Okay, now my eyebrow is officially raised.
Yeah, if they're telling you that there's no clones, the guy telling you is probably a f***ing clone. At this point, I have no doubt that they've made human clones. They've made dog clones. You can get your dog cloned. If your dog's going to die, you can get the DNA from your dog, get a puppy, and it'll be eerily similar to your dog. They think including some personality traits, which is just very bizarre, very Pet Cemetery.
Right.
But if they can do that, why can't they do that to people? They can.
Well, here's the thing. Before this goes off the rails.
It's too late.
Because there is a God, the bar has been set so insanely high for your clone that you can't really get much usage out of it. So,
well, if there is a God and you have a clone, the clone doesn't have a soul because you don't have a soul to give that clone. That's
or a personality,
right.
or certain things like a subconscious.
Right.
Like that's not available on the market. Lungs are, heart is, arms are,
right.
But subconscious, we still don't have the understanding of that, or how we're able to be as brilliant as we are in this world while only using a portion of though there are those of us that know with the pineal gland what medicine says it's for, and what that would mean. And so those people's job is to make sure that there's fluoride in all the water. So your gland will shrivel.
Get calcified or whatever happens to it.
Okay, enough cloning history, because none of it explains why Ellen suddenly got pulled into the laboratory story. Conspiracy theorists say you don't replace just any celebrity. You replace the useful ones. And Ellen was very useful. Presidents, billionaires, and Hollywood stars all sat on her couch. Then her Be Kind image fell apart. The show ended. Ellen disappeared from the spotlight and eventually moved to England. So here comes the disturbing question. What happens when someone becomes a liability, but their face is still valuable? According to the theory, you don't retire the brand, you replace the problem. And it gets even stranger. Rumors claim Hetchy and Twitch, both closely connected to Ellen, knew too much about this supposed plan and both died within months of each other.
People knew too much, and that is why they were taken out. I don't know if I necessarily think that's true, but I will say Anne Heche's story is one of the weirdest things I've ever heard. So again, the whole reason why she was maybe silenced was that she knew too much. She allegedly was working on some sort of documentary that was going to expose trafficking in Hollywood, but there's a lot of claims about that, about several different celebrities who have passed away, but there's not a lot of evidence here. But there is definitive evidence that Anne Heche has talked badly about Ellen and talks about how Ellen ruined her career. She's so toxic, she blacklisted her and she was super controlling when they were dating. So it does give you an inside look into Ellen's behavior. But on August 5th of 2022, Anne Heche crashed her car into a home in Los Angeles after a series of erratic driving incidences that were actually caught on camera. Now, what's weird about this, and what will always make me think that there is something more to this case, whether or not it's about Ellen, I don't know, but I do think there is something dark going on here, is the fact that there is this specific video where live they are reacting to Anne Heche's car accident. No one knew it was her at the time. Like, you can literally hear the news broadcaster calling Anne he, because, like, I don't know, he saw the short hair and just assumed. But you see her literally crawl out of the body bag that she was put in. And I don't know, some people said it was like a burn victim bag or something. She was in the car for like 45 minutes while it was burning before the law enforcement were able to get her out. What's weird is that she was allegedly like brain dead at this point, and obviously she ended up dying, which she's clearly alive in this video, so I don't know. It's really scary.
And Jim Caviezel seems to know quite a bit himself, and he has no problem talking about what he believes are Hollywood's darkest secrets, especially Epstein Island, which somehow keeps coming up in stories about Hollywood's most disturbing controversies.
During the 5 screenings, each screening, there was a talking going on. And I was like watching the audience going, what? The second time it happened. Again, third time, talking in this one particular spot. And I'm thinking, what, did we do something wrong or something? But so then one more time it happened. At the end, I was asking about the movie, and I asked him about that one particular part where everybody's talking, and they all cried out Epstein Island. And I went, oh, okay. Now I understand what we're up against.
Wow.
Epstein Island isn't the only island out there. And Tim Ballard takes down one of the...
And honestly, this is where I'm leaving this mess. Do I think there's an Ellen clone running around in some laboratory? I'm not that far gone. But after Dolly, Clonaid, Clinton, Bush, Kid Bew, Cat Williams, Jim Caviezel, and 24 years of technology getting stranger, I'm not saying impossible quite as loudly anymore. So, you tell me, complete conspiracy nonsense, or one of those stories we'll look back on in 10 years and say, oh, that's what they were talking about. I'll see you in the next one.